Hello guys, today I'm doing a slightly different video. I'm going to be giving you some plot ideas. Basically, what I'm hoping you can use these as will be something like subplots, plot twists, maybe you have a chapter that you don't know what to put into. Hopefully these ideas might help you. Otherwise, they might also be used as prompts. So, if you are looking for your next book idea, maybe some of these will strike a match. Now I'm going to be using my trusted iPad for this, so just so that I can actually refer to them. It's going to be a lot of ideas, by the way, 44 I think in total, so get ready. I did actually want to show off my iPad a little bit. This is not sponsored, by the way, but not like Apple would pay me. I have this little engraving. I don't know if you can see. I was a dork when I made that, so don't let me make executive decisions when I'm excited. Note to future self. But anyway, let us jump into this. Okay, I'm gonna put a little disclaimer that the first 14 of these ideas are going to be a little bit more on the depressing side. So where I'm getting these ideas from is actually some of my old Instagram posts. So I've just kind of compiled a bunch of my posts and ideas that I've put on Instagram way back in the past together to just come up with this video and give you all of those ideas just in one go. So, okay, idea number one. Your protagonist has to give up an item of huge emotional importance. Now, you can think of this as like an Act 3 sort of thing, or it could even be an interesting opening, because then you can kind of build up on, why did that item actually mean something to that? What is that item? Does your protagonist actually already have something like that that you've already given them throughout your book, or is it potentially a new thing that you have to introduce from another character, maybe in Act 1, and then in Act 3 they have that taken away from them. I always like a good emotional attachment to an object that is given by like a romantic interest or something like that. Okay, the next idea is a leader being abandoned by their own people. Now I got this, I think, from The 100, season 5, which was my favorite season, when Octavia actually gets left out in the cold by her people that she has been leading through some dark times. Absolute favorite season of that TV series, and I think that's just such a highly emotional and impactful moment if you are writing obviously something like a fantasy or a dystopian type of thing where you have a leader of the people and it's like on a bigger sort of scale. Then this can be a really good way to sort of test their strength and like take away everything from them. The next idea is a redemption arc that comes just a little bit too late. So your character has done something really, really bad, and now they want to make up for it, but unfortunately they just don't get that chance anymore. Or they are about to make up for it, but they die right after they do, or right as they do. Like their final act is an act of redemption, but they're not going to actually get to see that redemption through because they sacrificed themselves or something. The next one is making a mistake that is too big to be forgiven for. So you'll notice the trend here. This post was about, I guess, like tragic. I don't actually know where I pulled this from, but I think it was about like tragic ideas for your like anti-heroes or something like that. So these are definitely a theme. But yeah, making a mistake that's too big to be forgiven for. I really like doing this actually because I think it really pushes the conflict of a potential plot point that you have given your character, and your character actually is going to have to then deal with the consequences, and they might not be forgiven in the end, which I think is very impactful. And I have done that in a couple of my projects where, yeah, it's just too late. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. They're not going to forgive you, and you just have to live with that. The next idea is unrequited love with a childhood best friend. This actually kind of inspired my first project. I love unrequited love, and I love unrequited love. But I think that it's just such a tragic trope to include in a book, and I eat it up every single time. Now that I'm working on a second draft of this project, it's not really unrequited anymore because it just wasn't working out for the story. But yeah, it's an idea that I haven't used, and if you are also a sucker for pain like me, you might want to use this one. The next idea is being betrayed by a sibling, parent, or child. So obviously like family betrayals, I think they always hit kind of the hardest, more so than romantic interests, I would say. I think romantic interests, I feel like that's always very cliche and expected, being lulled into a sort of false sense of comfort by somebody that you only just met, and lo and behold, in third act, they actually were only seducing you to betray you or to get something. But I think it hits so much harder when it's from a family member. The next one is your character realizing who they truly love when it's too late. Yeah, I know. I was really on a roll with these, with the tragedy. These. I wish I could remember which post this was from, because damn, they hit hard. But yeah, probably like maybe having one of your characters or your side characters get married, and your main character only then starts to realize, oh, actually, I have feelings for them, or I have had feelings for them for a long time, but there's not really much that they can do about it now. Or maybe even that person dies, and they realize, oh, I did not shoot my shot while I had the chance. Okay, the next idea is not being believed by those closest to them when it really matters. So again, you could use their friends, their family. I'm a big sucker for family tropes for sure. Or you could use their love interest and kind of put them in a position of like making your character almost seem crazy until they reach a point where even those that have always been there for them just don't believe them anymore. The next idea is a character who is completely at peace with their tragic destiny. So this is an interesting one. If you are going to have a character who's going to go through a negative arc, or even just a villain or something like that, it might be interesting to just have them very resigned. So you're almost like, I think for me, when emotions are sort of mellowed out like that, you minimize them almost so that your character is kind of at peace with it. I feel like that makes it even sadder and even more tragic than it would if they were like grieving over it and really sad about what was going to happen. The next idea is relapsing on an addiction after doing really, really well. So I do think this is also applicable not just to addiction, but like general pitfalls of your characters, of, you know, something that they constantly keep going back to and keep maybe self-sabotaging or something like that. So you have them on a sort of upward curve where they're doing really, really well, they're getting better, whatnot, and then suddenly they just fall off the bandwagon, and you feel really bad for them because this works, I think, really well for a series if you have an ongoing problem that your character keeps running into. And it also kind of helps realism and consequences, and just reminding your viewers or your readers that things are going to keep popping up, and just because you are doing well doesn't mean that you are suddenly cured of whatever it is that you were battling with, whether it's mental health or addiction or anything like that. I think it's so important for us to have that sort of representation, that just because things are going well doesn't mean that they will keep going well, as depressing as that sounds. But everyone's going to have ups and downs, and yeah, it's, you know, mental health, addiction, that sort of stuff is not really something that should be romanticized or portrayed as curable, at least in my opinion. I think it's okay to have your characters slip up every once in a while, just to include a little bit of realism and a little bit more representation, and talk about that a little bit more in our fiction. The next idea is making an honest mistake that leads to horrible consequences and endangers the people they love. I don't think that this one needs much explanation. The next one is trying so hard, time and time again, and still not achieving any results. Again, I think this is such a human thing of just not letting your characters get there. I feel like that's some of these are really good for series as well, if you are trying to sort of paint a long-term journey for your character. Some of them are just going to take a while to get there, and I think that should be okay. Next one is having to watch a friend or family get tortured without being able to stop it. Yeah, no explanation needed for that one. Quite dark. I can't wait until we're out of these and into the slightly lighter ones. The next idea is realizing someone that they love is in danger, but they're the ones who sent them to that danger. I think that's a really cool one. It's a bit of a plot twist where, you know, maybe they were getting conned or something like that, and then your main character, for example, was like assuring to them, like, yeah, you should go, you should do that, you should, take on that mission, or talk to that person or trust that person, and then they do, and then it turns out, oh no, that's the bad guy. Okay, that's us out of the really dark ideas, and we're gonna move into slightly softer ones now. Okay, the next one is a new family moves in next door. This sounds like it could be a good inciting incident, or even maybe a first pinch point where you could introduce a new character or something like that. Again, depends on how you use this one. It could be just a subplot, but it could actually be part of like your main storyline as well. The next one is the person in front of your character at the supermarket is holding up the line. This is what I like to call a scene thread or a scene starter. So I think sometimes you can sort of liven up your scene if you introduce really like unimportant characters who almost just act as conflict or oppositions to whatever your character is doing. So this is a really good one to use as that. Next idea, a stray cat wanders the streets in front of your character's building. So this could be cute, just to literally have a save the cat moment. Is that too cringe? Am I gonna edit this out? I don't know. Next idea, a pub fight breaks out nearby. Yeah, I think I love a good bar brawl or pub fights or however you want to call them. That always provides an interesting action scene, and whenever I read a pub fight, it's always the main characters are actually participating in it or causing it. But I think it might be interesting to see if it's like a completely random event and just someone in the background of this scene starts a fight, and then, you know, seeing how your characters react to that. You know, if they're on a date or something like that, or if they're just out drinking alone, what is their reaction going to be to, you know, somebody fighting next to them? Because it could be funny or it could be cute and soft and romantic if they're on a date. But yeah, I think that's a really cool way to introduce conflict into your scene. Next idea, there is a local fire at a spot that used to mean a lot to your character. So this is a good opportunity to potentially introduce some backstory, maybe some memories about that particular spot. Next idea, your character is stuck in a traffic jam on the way to somewhere important. A really good character building opportunity, and again, just turning a transition scene into something that actually has a purpose and shows us who that character is, what they're like, and how they react to conflict in their lives. Next idea, a kitchen appliance keeps dying and your character uses creative ways to keep it together. So this could be really good if you are trying to maybe show somebody who's independent, or somebody who refuses to ask for help, or somebody who's maybe struggling with money so they can't afford to fix it. And it shows a little bit of that creativity and like quick thinking of your character. The next idea is a local who runs the laundromat becomes a mental figure or friendly outlet for your character. I think I got this from Shameless, actually. I think at one point Fiona buys a laundromat or something, and there's an old lady that she keeps talking to. But I think that's an interesting way to introduce a mentor if it's like a local spot that your character keeps visiting. Next idea, an earthquake hits the town. Shake up your plot. No pun intended. The next one, a distant relative shows up asking to reconnect. Now this could be a good subplot. It could be a good plot twist eventually, but yeah, like, who are they? Are they actually a long-lost cousin, or are they a con man? Or there are so many possibilities for this particular subplot to kind of bring in a little bit more intrigue into your plot, especially if you are dealing with like family themes. This could be an interesting one to pop in there. Next idea, your character struggles financially because of previous debts. So yeah, this I feel like you could base a whole story off of that one, but you could also kind of pop it in just to add a little bit extra conflict onto your character. Not conflict, but more like struggle if you're starting out with somebody who doesn't actually have their life together and they are struggling with finances or something like that. Next idea, there's a local competition your character could have an advantage in. So this is always a fun one. You know, it could be karaoke night, it could be something really funny and random, and again, a really good opportunity to showcase some of what your character can do and who they are as a person. Next idea, your character's family reaches out for help that your character can't or doesn't want to give. You might have noticed by now that I'm really into family tropes. But I really like this one. I think it's it can help if you, for example, if you have a protagonist who doesn't have a very strong relationship to their family, or they're like estranged or something like that, then this is a really good way to maybe bring that up, or explore a little bit of that subplot or that backstory there. Your character gets a pet to curb loneliness. I always love this. I always end up adding pets into my own books. I'm not gonna lie, I actually went back into my second draft of the novel that I finished recently, and just added in a cat just because I could. Next one, a good childhood friend reappears in the town but won't talk to your character. So this is a good way to raise intrigue for sure. I think this could suit well for like a mystery or something like that. Next idea, the utilities in your character's house are shut off. So this is I think a fun sort of concept for a chapter or something. Like if it could be just by mistake the utilities get shut off. It could be that they didn't pay them, or that their parents didn't pay them or something like that. Or it could just be like a storm hit the town and the weather cuts off, the electricity or something like that. It just always adds a little bit of nice fodder to the scene so that you can, again, as I said, like liven it up, or come up with a setting that's maybe more interesting. It puts a little bit more pressure on your characters, on whatever is happening in your scene. Next one, someone steals your character's parking spot. Again, really good opportunity to show how your character reacts to that. Next one, the town hosts a fun fair. I'm sure I got this off of Gilmore Girls. There's so many fun fairs in that TV series. Next one, the love interest experiences an unexpected tragedy in the family and must leave. Yeah, I think I like this because it allows us a little bit of time to be alone with the protagonist, especially if you are writing a romance or something that's really heavily reliant on romance. I think it's always interesting to see how the character copes when their love interest is away. Next one. Okay, this one is kind of similar to the utilities outage, but a huge storm rips through town. I love a good storm. I feel like I have a storm in everything that I write. I don't know why. It's a vibe. Next one, a new mysterious person becomes the center of attention. I think that's a good way to introduce characters. Like if you are, because I feel like a lot of the times we write books where your protagonist is a new person in town, but like what if you flip it and your protagonist has always been there and somebody else new moves into town and they're like this object of mystery. I think that could be a nice role reversal for your tropes if you want to use those. Next one, your character has a near collision in traffic. Now, of course, you can actually make this into an actual collision, but it's a good opportunity to see how your character reacts to a really sort of stressful situation and how they come out the other end from that. Next one, the neighbors tend to party too loud every other night. I think this was just drawn from personal life experience. I used to live in a flat where my neighbors would, I had to actually call the police on them. That was a very stressful time in my life. It took me weeks to gather up the courage, but that again tells you a lot about a character and their personality and how they will approach this sort of conflicting situation. Next one, your character's best friend excels at something that your character is jealous of. So this is a great way to build tension between some of your existing characters, and it allows for a really great opportunity to see a little bit more of a grayer part in your main character and how they react to things. Next one, your character must learn a new skill to achieve their goal. So this could make an interesting subplot, maybe like they have to train for something or they have to learn something that they've never done before, so that could make them flustered and frustrated. And there's a lot of ideas that I'm getting just from thinking about that. Next one, your character has to attend community service. That could be a really fun one depending on who your character is. I'm currently flashing back to Alexis and Schitt's Creek. If you have not seen that, that was very entertaining because she definitely did not want to do community service. So this is an opportunity for a lot of humor depending on who your character is and what it is that they did to get community service. Next one, your character develops an addiction to the local takeaway, but not because of the food. I'm gonna leave this one open-ended for you to interpret however you wish to. Next one, your character takes on an odd job to help with the bills. So again, you could think about, what kind of odd job is it? Does it get them into a bigger mess? Is it maybe something that they weren't expecting? Does it lead them to a different situation? This could be a good transition into, if you are stuck in, where you want to get to in your plot, but you don't quite know how to get there, maybe the odd job could be the way of getting there. Next one, your character places a drunken bet that they have to win. You'll get really fun with that. I've actually read books based on this one. And the last prompt is your character catches a cold and then spreads it around to everyone that they know. The second part is optional, but I do think sometimes like we forget about the little sort of annoying parts of life when we are writing, so this could be an interesting way to sort of bring that in and have your character actually get sick because they're human, and well, maybe they're not human, but if you are writing about humans, then you could potentially use this one. And if you want more comedic effect, then yeah, they could spread it around to everybody that they know. Okay, that's it for this video. I hope you got some ideas, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!